Welcome to HIM Tutorials. Again, I am here to help you in your online study. Chapter 7 Conservation of Plants and Animals is going on, and topic biodiversity we are doing. Now today we are going to do the subtopic, that is wildlife conservation, and in this wildlife conservation we will discuss about the important strategies to conserve the wildlife, or you can say important steps that how can we conserve the wildlife. So the first step to conserve the wildlife, that is creation of protected areas. Second step is strict laws to regulate hunting, very important point. And third, the most important point, that is captive breeding programs. So one by one we will discuss all the steps in detail. First is creation of protected areas. So the first protected area which we have to create to conserve the wildlife, that is national park. National park are those areas in which the wild animals or wildlife is preserved. Okay, and in national parks there is no human interference. Also, according to the survey of year 2019, in India there are 104 national parks. The first national park which was established in India, that is in year 1936, and that was Jim Corbett National Park, and this is in Uttarakhand. Now next protected area, that is wildlife sanctuary. Now this wildlife sanctuary is reserved area, and it is reserved for the conservation of wild plants, animals and birds. Also there are some human activities are allowed in it, especially the private ownership, with the help of private ownership rights. Some private agencies are having such kind of license to enter in these areas and harvest timber and other forest products, but in ordered manner, so that they should not harm the wildlife. Also, according to the survey of 2019, India has 551 wildlife sanctuaries in it. The third protected area, that is Biosphere Reserve. Biosphere Reserve is a large area and it has multiple of activities in it. Also, the first Biosphere Reserve established in India is Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve, and it is very vast. It has an area which is extended in Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka. Also, sometimes it is so big that it includes some parks and sanctuaries in it. If I go for such an example, then Pachmari Biosphere Reserve is such, which has one national park, that is Satpura, and two wildlife sanctuaries, that is Burai and Pachmari. So biosphere reserves are very big areas, and according to the survey, in world there are 686, how many? 686 biosphere reserve in world, and in India there are 18 biosphere reserve present according to the survey of 2019. Now let's discuss that in this biosphere reserve there are three main zones, because it is very big area, so it is also divided into three subparts further. First is core zone, second is buffer zone, and the third one is manipulation zone. If I make a simple rough diagram, for example, this is the biosphere reserve, and in this biosphere reserve there are three subzones. Okay, the innermost zone, which has no human activity and only it is preserved for the wildlife. Another one is the buffer zone. In this area there are some human activities and rest 90% is preserved only and only for the wildlife. And the outermost is the manipulation zone, and it is the area in which human activities are regularly allowed. Okay, but they are not allowed to cross the buffer zone and core zone because they are only and only preserved for the wildlife. So this is all about the first part, that is creation of protected areas, and protected areas are discussed in three types, that is national parks, wildlife sanctuaries and biosphere reserve. Now we will discuss about the second heading, that is strict laws to regulate hunting. So for the hunting regulations, if I talk about, then the first thing that should be checked, that is poaching should not be there. Poaching and regular hunting should not be there. Poaching means selling of body parts of wild animals for the financial benefit. So, and irregular, you can say regular hunting of the animals also lead to decrease number of animals in particular species. So that should also be checked. Second is, due to the human activity, there should be no destruction to habitat. So destruction should be checked. And the third thing, endangered species, hunting should be banned. Should be banned, properly banned. Okay, because these species at the point of extinction, they will lost if they are not checked, or the measures or causative agents are not checked. So hunting of this type of endangered species should not be there. Now the third thing, that is captive breeding, very important part. Now what is captive breeding? Let's discuss about that first. You can say captive breeding programs are those programs in which the animals are kept under the cages for some time and they are breeded, and with the help of breeding new generations are formed, and this will help, this captive breeding method will help to enhance the number of particular species and also saved it from being endangered. Government has also launched some projects, like if I go for, government has launched Gir Lion project in 1972 and Tiger project in 1973. So these projects are launched, and various other projects are also there which was launched by government, or they are launched by the government time to time to preserve these endangered species, and these endangered species can be preserved easily by captive breeding. So this is all about the three main headings which we have discussed, or the three main strategies to conserve the wildlife. So very quickly let's recap that what we have learned today. We have learned the steps for the wildlife conservation, in which we have learned about protected areas, we have discussed some laws, and then we have discussed the captive breeding. Under the protected areas, there are three type of parts we have: national parks, biosphere reserve, and wildlife sanctuaries. And if I go for the hunting regulations, second part, that is hunting regulations should be there because it should be very helpful to check poaching. Then destruction should also be checked with the help of hunting regulation, and endangered species are also saved by the method of hunting regulations, or you can say by the help of strict laws to regulate hunting. Then the third part, that is captive breeding. It is very important to increase the number of animals in a particular species and to save that species from being endangered. So this is all about today's session. So up to our next video, keep watching, keep learning, and stay home. That is the most important part of this time. Thank you.